Hi everyone. So this is just a review on circles again. I know that it says homework, but I actually made this into notes on circles. We are just going to skip around and do a few problems here and there, and then you're welcome to practice with the problems that we don't do together if you like, or if you feel like you need more practice. So here it says the center of the circle is -9, 0. So this is HK, and the radius is 1. So just a reminder, the equation of a circle is x subtract h squared plus y subtract k squared is equal to r squared. So in order to write the equation of a circle, I need to plug in h, and I need to plug in k, and I need to plug in r. And the ACT really likes these, so you may see some of these on the ACT in the spring. So looking at this, it would be x subtract, and then h is -9, and then we would square. So of course you can write that as a plus. And then y subtract, and then 0 is the k squared equals, and then 1 squared. And then you always want to simplify, so you want to go ahead and square that 1. 1 squared is 1. So my final answer is x plus 9 squared plus y squared. You don't need the subtract 0, equals 1. And there's your equation of the circle. So let's go ahead and do an equation of a circle again. This time it gave me the center and it gave me a point on the circle. And so the first thing that I'm going to need to do is figure out what the radius is. So we know that the center is HK. So I have that for my formula, but I don't have the radius. So for the radius, I'm going to go ahead and take the distance from the center to an endpoint. So the distance, and if you want to call that r instead of distance, that might be better. So the radius is equal to the distance between these 2 points. So again, you subtract your x values. So -1 subtract 4 squared. And then make sure you start with the same point again. So start with -2 subtract 7 squared. If you put the 7 first, you would end up missing it. It would be wrong. So always start with the same point. And so now we'll just simplify. So the radius is the square root of -5 squared, which is 25, and -9 squared is 81. And so that's 106. So the radius is the square root of 106. Now, remember that the formula, it wants r squared. So if r is equal to 106, r squared is, or the square root of 106, r squared is equal to just 106. So basically what we're doing here is we're squaring both sides, and then the square and the square root cancel. So now I'm ready to write my equation. R is, no. Ready to write my equation, which is x subtract h squared. So x subtract 4 squared plus y subtract 7 squared is equal to 106. And I'll highlight that. All right, next one, you've got 2 endpoints on the diameter. And so we need to find the middle of the circle. So we're going to first start with the midpoint formula, and then we are going to find the radius. So 2 things to do on that problem. Let's go ahead and give it a try. So let me scroll down so we have a little bit more room. All right. The midpoint. So we are going to do -6 plus -8 divided in 2, and then 2 plus 10 and divide it by 2. And this is going to be my HK. which is the midpoint. So negative 14 divided by 2 and 12 divided by 2, negative 7, 6. And so here's your H and your K. Now what we're going to do is we need to find the radius. Now that we found the center of the circle, we need to find the radius. And so to find the radius, we need to find maybe the distance. We could find the distance between these 2 points and then cut it in half to find the radius. Or we could pick one point and use this center point and find the distance. So it's really up to you. Why don't let me just pick, I'm going to pick this point as x1, y1, and I'll use this point as x2, y2, and then that will give me the actual radius. So the radius is going to equal the square root of, subtract your x values, so negative 7, subtract negative 6, and then square it, and then subtract the k values, so 6, subtract 2, and then square it. So this is going to be add, which is negative 1 squared, plus 6 subtract 2 is 4 squared. And negative 1 times negative 1 is 1, so the square root of 1 plus 16 is equal to the square root of 17. All right, so keep in mind that's what r equals. So r squared is going to be just 17. So now I'm ready to write the equation for number 5. Ooh, don't know what happened there. So it's going to be x subtract h, and h is negative 7. So sorry, erase that. All right, so I have x subtract h, so x plus 7 squared, plus y subtract k, so y subtract 6 squared is equal to 17. And there's the equation of my circle. So again, you can practice some of these on this page if you need more practice. So looking at number 7, we're going to write the equation of this circle. So just a reminder again, the equation of a circle is x subtract h squared plus y subtract k squared is equal to r squared. And when you write the equation, you have to put in h and k and r. So looking at the picture, HK is the center, and so let's figure out the coordinates of that middle. So it's right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 5, negative 4, and that's what H and K are. The next thing we want to do is we need to figure out what the radius is, and that is the distance from the center to a side of the circle. And you could use the distance formula, but because they gave me the graph, I'm just going to count it. So it looks like it's 1, 2, 3. So the radius is 3. So r equals 3. We plug that into our equation. So we have x subtract 5 squared plus y minus 4, which is plus 4 squared, is equal to 3 squared. And we want to write that as 9. 3 squared is 9. And that is the equation of my circle. What I'm going to do is number 9. And all we're supposed to do is find the center and the radius. Remember that the center is HK and the radius goes from the center of the circle to the point on the edge of the circle. So let's look at this. This would be x subtract h squared plus y subtract k squared equals r squared. So let's start with finding r. We know r squared is equal to 81. So we don't want r squared though, we want r. So we'll square root both sides and r will be equal to 9. So we know that the radius is 9. Now, as far as the center goes, this is not in the right form. So this +1, plus is the same thing as subtract a negative. Plus is subtract a negative. So x subtract h happens to be -1 and k happens to be -4. And there's my solution. So we will do 13 and 14 in class, or no, 13 and 15 in class, and I'll do 14 for you right here. So to get this in standard form, we are going to need to complete the square. So the first thing we want to do is we want to gather together all our x's and our y's. So we have, I don't want red. Let's go green. So x squared, and there's no other x's. And now I'm going to gather my y's. So I have a y squared, and this y over here, I'm going to subtract over to this other side because I'm gathering all my y's together. 13y subtract 1y is 12y. So this would be plus 12y plus something. So this is going to be where I'm going to complete the square, is equal to -32 plus something. So to complete the square, you take the b, which is 12, you divide it by 2. So 12 divided by 2 is 6, and you square it. And then you would add that to both sides. Now this is a perfect squared trinomial. And so we have x squared plus, and y plus 6 times y plus 6 is going to give me y squared plus 12y plus 36 equals, and then -32 plus 36 is 4. So now it's looking perfect. It's in standard form. And we know it's a circle because we have an x is squared and the y is squared, and the stretch is the same. And so the center of the circle is going to be 0, -6. Again, this plus would be y subtract -6. So it's a negative here. And the radius, be careful, r squared is 4. And so when you square root it, the radius is going to be 2. So when I graph the circle, I always start with the center. So I'm going to go 0, and then I'm going to go down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the radius is 2. So from the center, I can go up 2 and right 2 and down 2 and left 2. And then kind of sketchy, not the best drawing, but you got the point. There's my circle. All right, that's it. Thanks, everyone.